we're now going to move on to our fireside chat. जिसके लिए हमें join किया है Mr. Sagheer Mufti, who is the Chief Operating Officer at HBL. And with him, we have his own younger colleagues, Palwasha Faizan, who is the Senior Manager of App Development and Usage, and Hasan Sandila, who is the Head of Digital Marketing. So over to you guys, and we're going to have Jahanara right over here conducting the session.
Thanks, Anuji. So, welcome to the first fireside chat of this session of 0 to 1 Disrupt. What comes to your mind when you think of a bank and a banker? The obvious answer is traits that you think of is well-dressed people in a suit with a sober tie, lady formally dressed up, having a desk or an office in a branch, strictly adhering to legalities and compliance issues, right? Then we hear from HBL that they want to be a technology company with a banking license. So we invited Sagheer, Chief Operating Officer of HBL, and his team to join us today and unbox the myth and all this talk about transformation and the journey of HBL as it moves from being a bank to a tech company. So, Sagheer, Assalamu Alaikum. Welcome to 0 to 1 Disrupt and the fireside chat. The floor is all yours. Take it away.
Assalamu Alaikum and good afternoon. Jahara, first of all, delighted to be here. Our partnership continues to grow and strengthen. And this chat today is, I think, one more example of how you and we can continue to work together going forward. I'm here, as she explained, as the old stodgy banker. I look at my career shows it. So you're putting me in an interesting spot. She's a bit like I'm on Hard Talk. We try to share with you why we believe at HBL we can beat the odds and not be that stuffy as we used to be. We'll share with you why we believe as part of the transition and transformation of a bank with a technology license, we can now move on to be a technology company with a banking license. So to do that, I want to talk a little bit about why we think talent is important for that. A lot of people think about technology as the enabler for digital, and it is. No question about it. Technology is an important enabler. Partnering with fintechs, an important enabler. But to our mind, as we studied how to do this transformation, it became clear that culture and mindset eats technology for lunch when it comes to digital transformation. And culture and mindset is set by people, talent you have, the skill set you have. If that's the case, we decided to focus on how to move away from having the bankers of yesterday to having the bankers of tomorrow. So I'm happy to share with you what they look like. I'm happy to talk to you about it. But I think better than me talking about it, let me showcase it for you. I happen to have with me some colleagues who will tell you a little bit about what they do, what they were doing in the past, and what they're doing in a bank now. And perhaps that can get a better picture drawn for you of how talent is key to digital transformation. Let me introduce you to Palwasha. She is one of my colleagues. And Palwasha, over to you.
Thank you, Sagheer. So my journey at HBL was very unexpected. In university, I remember passing through the HBL orientation saying, banks mein kaun kaam karta hai? And soon after, I joined a fintech company in the telecom industry. I started my career. I was in Islamabad. I was aspiring to be this young lady who would work in a company and one day be in a top position, inshallah. As I was moving forward, I was posed with an opportunity to come at work at the biggest bank in the country. My decision to work in this organization came from a very well-guided research that I had been doing. If I wanted to establish myself as a fintech expert, I just read up on some similar markets and I instantly knew that the future of financial technology would be in the banking sector in Pakistan. The reason I say this is because the muscle and the compliance and the regulation and the responsibility that comes with managing people's money is very, very high, and it should not be taken lightly. When I joined the bank back in 2018, I was a 25-year-old girl, established herself in Islamabad, and I had to move to a new city, a new environment, and a new banking organization with a lot of structure, with a lot of legacy. And in my time at HBL, I launched the Connect application. I introduced a gaming feature within the application that I convinced my bosses would work. And I was able to get them to agree with me. As a woman, 2 years in working at the bank, I have realized that you can create an impact because some people are willing to listen. People who matter are willing to listen to you. And my experience has been very, very fulfilling. In the last 2 years, I've established a team of under 25 individuals, all of them aspiring to be fintech professionals and contributing to the economy of Pakistan in a very, very meaningful way. Today, I'm proudly sitting here representing HPL and saying that disruption can happen in a large structure if you are willing to be persistent. Resilience is very, very important when it comes to a young mind that is planning to establish themselves with a high responsibility job like managing people's money. And a very famous quote that I really resonate to when finding young talent for digital transformation is that if you have to hire smart people, hire the first one and the rest will come. So that was my experience at HPL, and I am happy to share it with you.
Thank you, Palwasha. So she talked about an app she developed. It's our biggest hit. It's called HBL Connect. And we are very proud of having colleagues who have done such work. And she's a very good example of what a banker today was and is going to look like as a change agent tomorrow. Now, she is not alone, and that's the other thing we want to share with you. It cannot be done by any one superstar. It cannot be done any one individual. We have to build teams. Collaboration is key in the new world. It's important to be able to come together to deliver on the project on hand, bringing different skills from different parts of the organization. Because the products today, interestingly, are more complex, but far more requiring a customer perspective in them. Frankly, banks were used to giving what banks knew how to give. Banks were not necessarily focused on what is the customer wants. So teams have to be built. So now let me introduce to another colleague of mine, Hasan. Hasan, you were sitting in a nice office in Islamabad, nice view of the Margaras. What prompted you to think of a place like HBL?
Thank you, Sagheer. When I was first approached about 1 year back by HBL, I was very curious to know what would a guy selling digital tokens in the gaming industry do at HBL, and what's the reason behind HBL approaching me. Interestingly enough, when I met a few senior stakeholders at the bank, I was pretty clear about one thing, and that was that the environment that is being fostered at HBL will allow you to make a difference. That was one of the key points where my decision came to switch to HBL. The second part there was more quantitative. From a potential perspective, we have about 100 million unbanked population in Pakistan, people who don't have access to basic financial services. The potential over there for financial inclusion is immense, and hence that was the point number 2 that made me switch. The third thing that I ventured into was, why do startups fail? About 90% odd of the startups fail in the first 3 years. And the primary reason for that is that they run out of funding. Or they run out of funding or backing from a big group. HBL has consistently been a bank, it's the largest bank in Pakistan, and consistently been a bank that has posted very strong results. Just Q3 results were out a month back, and we posted about 25 billion in profits. To this, if the bank wants to experiment, there is no doubt that the bank does not have deep pockets for experimentation. Whether we're successful in 10 initiatives that we take, that time will tell. But today, at least the commitment from the management, senior leadership, and the employees is already there. But I think I would also have a question for you, Sagheer. I mean, I was working in a telco industry. Why would you even contact somebody who's selling digital tokens for mobile games to come at HBL where the business is very serious?
Hasan, thank you. First of all, delighted to have you on our team, and the changes you're bringing, the fresh perspective you're bringing is helping us as an organization. So why all this? As I said before, we are very clear that we want to take HBL, as my favorite show, the Star Trek, used to say, go where no bank has gone before in Pakistan. Well, in our case, we are very clear because of our board's commitment to ensure that in the long run, HBL remains relevant. HBL is a dominant player in the financial services industry in Pakistan. Take any indicator and you'll see we have pole position, be it number of products, be it number of customers, be it the kind of advisory services we provide to our corporate customers. Our company is known to be a very key player in the financial industry. We are 75 years old. We got here with a lot of hard work. We got here by doing many innovative things, and one part of innovation is adopting to change. And we are very much hoping that we will take this slogan of a technology company with a banking license and make it a reality. But to do that, we need a different type of skill set. We need different talent. What is it that we are looking for in people? So why did we approach you or Palwasha and many of the other young men and women who are in HBL today? The characteristics of the banker of tomorrow, the change agent of tomorrow, to my mind, are the following. Innovation has to be in the DNA, not an afterthought. Risk-taking has to come naturally to these people. They are willing to fall down, get their knees scrapped, and then get back up. It's okay to fall down. And that's, in a risk-averse culture, which is what a lot of banks have, is something we need to learn more about by bringing in people who know how to deal with risk differently than we have in the past. Speed to market. Banks are known to take a lot of time to get things done. We need to know how to work in a more agile manner. Our products have to become far more customer-centric. Pick the annual reports of the top 100 banks in the world, and they'll all talk about customer service. To me, customer service is a basic hygiene. We all need to provide it to our customers. They owe it. We owe it to them. What's more important is learning how to look at things from the eyes of the customer. That's customer centricity. So we felt many of these skills can be brought into the organization by bringing in young people like you. We felt the ability to ensure that HBL is able to provide the kind of products and services today's customers need. Remember, our customers are the same people, whether they're corporates, whether they're individuals, SMEs, who are experiencing digital in many other parts of their life. Many companies are buying online. So as a company or as an individual, whether you buy from Amazon or Farfetch, you're getting a different experience. Research, data collection is very important in today's world. Data is the new oil. Auntie Google is everybody's friend. People are acquiring knowledge in a different way. So we wanted to get people who can help bring those skills into our organization. And that's the reason we have embarked on this journey to acquire talent, because we strongly believe that's what's going to be the key enabler for HBL going forward to remain relevant and the most dominant player in the financial industry. But again, let me put it across to my colleague Palwasha. Let her share a practical example of what I mean from these things. Palwasha?
So as a young woman at the bank, I was hired for a business role, and my job was to develop digital applications so that people send money over the internet using apps. Soon after my launch of the new Connect app, I realized that there was a gap in the structure. And I had this notion in my head that maybe I couldn't question it. Maybe as a 25-year-old person, I was not allowed to ask the questions regarding the structure that HBL had, because it dated back to 70 years. I went to my boss and I said that in my last organization, product development teams had a very specific function. That function was to bridge the gap between tech and business and make them speak to each other. Many times when business teams write requirements for the bank, they get lost in translation with the IT, and you have a product that none of you want maybe. I went and I said product development would be the team that I want to make, and my boss said go ahead. So I went, I researched, and I created that structure within the bank. And I created that comfort zone for myself to be the most productive. I realized pretty early on that there will be times when in large structures disruption is very, very needed, but nobody's asking the question. As young people, as my peers chose to go with more experimental environments, go into more unstructured markets, I decided that I wanted to see how I could change something that was so deeply rooted in its own structure and its own legacy. And I was able to see that transformation with the help of HBL's leadership, that digital transformation was very, very possible. They were open to hearing to what I said. They were open to the ideas that I was putting forward. And I was able to convince that there was a way that banking industry could thrive through a gaming platform that we create within the financial platform that we have. And those were the key areas where I felt I would be the most productive. So I invite everybody who's listening today to come and see for themselves what HBL represents, to come and meet us, to come and reach out to us, because we want to present to you a very different mind of what HBL now exists for. The bank of tomorrow innovates with responsibility, but accepts the spirit that young people are willing to bring. So that's
Thank you, Palwasha.
it.
So HBL wants to aspire to serve every fourth Pakistani for their financial services needs and related services. And the way we believe we can achieve that is through being a digital organization to help HBL become digital and help Pakistan become digital. So to my mind, it's a journey as an organization and as a country we are embarking on, and we are going to be very successful in it because of the young talent we have in Pakistan. And lastly, I do want to thank our host, Jean Ara. She's one of my heroines. I love her. I've said it in Twitter, so it's no secret out there, because I think she's helping bring together all of us to have the platform, to have a dialogue, to create a more digital Pakistan. Jean Ara, thank you.
Such kind words. Thank you, Sagheer, and thank you, Palwasha and Hasan, interesting and very different perspective of what I think most of us thought of a bank. And I'm glad to see this cultural shift that's happening. It's what's going to keep organizations relevant. It's going to keep organizations, it'll help you transform to make sure that the new customers and the new stakeholders that are coming on find that they can work with you. Because otherwise, you know, if everybody, all the large organizations stay as is, you lose much of that customer base. So I'm glad to see that HBL knows that. It's making the necessary moves to remain relevant, and you will be competitive on a global level, not just here in Pakistan. So thank you very much for being here, for being part of 0 to 1 Disrupt, and for sharing your perspective with us.